Welcome. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on a really core part of the AWS Cloud, Elastic Block Store, or EBS. The simplest way to think about it, it's basically the hard drive for your servers in the cloud, one that doesn't forget. So let's start with a really fundamental question. You've got an application running on a cloud server, an EC2 instance, and you shut it down, or maybe you even terminate it completely. What happens to all the data you stored on it? Does it just vanish into thin air?
Well, the answer and the trick to saving that data is a service called Amazon EBS. You can think of it as a network drive that you plug into your servers. Its whole reason for existing is to provide persistence. That means the data stays right where it is, even if the server is long gone.
Probably the easiest way to picture this is to think of an EBS volume as a network USB stick. It's pretty cool, actually. You can plug it into one server, use it, and then, when you're done, you can unplug it and plug it right into a completely different server, all over the network. And the data? It's all still there, totally intact.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the absolute basics of what EBS is. Then, we'll figure out how to pick the right kind of volume for what you're doing. After that, we'll dive into the magic of snapshots for backups and moving data around. We'll touch on some really powerful advanced features, and then we'll wrap up with a couple of practice questions you might see on an AWS exam.
So first things first, the core concepts. Nailing these fundamentals is absolutely key to using EBS the right way, and maybe more importantly, to avoiding some pretty common and sometimes painful mistakes.
All right, here are a few key things you've got to remember. First, it's a network drive. That means there's a tiny bit of network latency. It's usually not a big deal, but it's there. Second, and this one is a huge deal, a volume is locked into a single availability zone. You can't attach a volume in, say, US-East-1A to a server that's over in US East-1B. And finally, please pay attention to the delete on termination setting. By default, your main boot volume gets deleted when you terminate the server, but any extra drives you've attached do not. You can change this setting, but knowing the default behavior can save you from a really bad day.
So now we know what EBS is. The next obvious question is, which one should I use? See, AWS gives you a bunch of options, and making the right call is all about that classic balancing act between performance and cost.
Here's the quick cheat sheet. On one side of the spectrum, you have your super-fast solid-state drives, or SSDs. They're great for your everyday workloads and for high-performance databases. On the other side, you've got your more budget-friendly hard disk drives, or HDDs. These are perfect for things like big data processing, log files, or just plain cheap storage for data you don't access very often. Now, let's zoom in on something really important, the difference between the older GP2 volumes and the newer GP3. With GP2, performance was tied directly to the size of your disk. So if you needed more speed, you had to pay for a bigger, more expensive drive, even if you didn't need the space. But with GP3, and this is a total game changer, you can set the performance and the size separately. This almost always means you get better performance for less money. Honestly, for most things you'll ever do, GP3 is the way to go.
But what if you're running something really serious, like a mission-critical database where even a small performance dip is a huge problem? Well, that's exactly why provisioned IOPS exists. When you use IO1 or IO2 volumes, you're paying for a guaranteed level of performance. It ensures you get that sustained, super-fast, consistent speed when you absolutely, positively have to have it.
Okay, so your data is safe on a volume. That's great. But how do you back it up? And remember that whole problem about volumes being stuck in one availability zone? How do we fix that? The answer to both of those questions is an amazing feature called Snapshots.
This process really shows you just how powerful snapshots are. It's simple, really. You just create a snapshot, which is like a perfect photo of your volume at that exact moment. Then, from that snapshot, you can create a brand new identical volume in any other availability zone in that same region. This is the bedrock technique for disaster recovery and moving data around in AWS. All right, let's kick it up a notch. We're going to look at two advanced features that are not only super useful, but also tend to pop up all the time on AWS certification exams: encryption and something called multi-attach. This is just fantastic. When you tick that little encrypt box on an EBS volume, AWS takes care of everything. I mean, everything. The data is encrypted while it's sitting on the disk, it's encrypted while it's flying across the network to your server, and any snapshot you create is automatically encrypted too. It is end-to-end security with practically zero performance hit. Now here's a workflow you absolutely have to burn into your brain, especially for any AWS exam. You cannot encrypt an existing volume directly. Just can't do it. The only way is this little dance. You create a snapshot, you make an encrypted copy of that snapshot, and then you restore a new encrypted volume from that copy.
Okay, so you're just looking at the number 16 on the screen. What in the world could that possibly have to do with EBS?
Well, that's the maximum number of servers that can attach to a single high-performance IO1 or IO2 volume all at the same time. This feature is called multi-attach, and it's for some pretty specific situations, like clustered applications that need to share storage and are smart enough to handle lots of servers writing to the same disk without messing up the data.
All right, let's bring it all home and see what we've learned. Here are a couple of quick scenarios that are a lot like what you might find on an actual AWS certification exam. Ready?
First one, you've got an existing volume. It's got sensitive data on it, but oops, nobody encrypted it when it was first made. What's the right way to encrypt it now?
You got it. It's that very specific workflow we just talked about. You can't do it in place. The only way is the snapshot, copy, and create method.
Okay, next up. You're setting up the storage for a mission-critical database. Performance and consistency are everything. It needs to be fast and reliable all the time. Which volume type are you going to choose?
Exactly. When you hear critical database or any application that just demands consistent, top-of-the-line performance, provisioned IOPS should be the first thing that comes to your mind.
So, look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. EBS is your persistent hard drive in the cloud, and its built-in encryption is incredibly powerful, totally comprehensive, and just so easy to use.
And there you have it. From the basics to picking the right volume, from using snapshots to securing your data with encryption, you now have the solid foundational knowledge to go out there and manage your cloud storage like a pro. The only question left is, what amazing thing are you going to build with it? Thanks for watching.